It is a Tuesday, 9:04 in the evening. You are standing at a supermarket checkout near your workplace with a basket containing 4 items: bread, milk, a tin of soup, a packet of pasta. $14.60. The cashier tells you the total. You tap your card. The machine thinks for a moment longer than it should. Then the sound. The specific sound that is not a beep but a tone. Declined. You try again. Same tone. You say it is fine. You put the pasta back. You put the soup back. This time it goes through. The cashier does not look at you differently. That almost makes it worse. You take your bag. You walk to the car park. You get into the 2013 Civic with the cracked dashboard and the check engine light that has been on since March. You sit there for a moment. Bread and milk on the passenger seat. You start the engine. You drive home. You get in at 9:41. You do not turn the lights on. You drop your bag on the kitchen counter. You take off your shoes. You lie down on the couch in the dark. Not sleeping. Just done. Done with the shift. Done with the checkout. Done with the particular exhaustion that comes from spending 9 hours moving other people's things around a warehouse and having your card declined for soup on the way home. Your phone is on your chest. The television is off. The apartment is quiet in the specific way it gets when a building full of people all go silent at the same time. You lie there for 20 minutes doing nothing. Then you get up. Not because you need anything, because lying in the dark is starting to feel worse than doing something pointless. You put your shoes back on. You grab your jacket. You walk to the corner store. The store is quiet at this hour. A few people near the back, one cashier looking at her phone. On the way to the drinks fridge, you pass a small cluster of people gathered around a lottery counter, 4 or 5 of them, laughing about something. The man behind the counter, older, gray jacket, the kind of person who has stood behind that counter for years, is handing out scratch cards. You glance at it. You keep walking. You get a bottle of water. You head to pay. On the way past the lottery, the man in the gray jacket looks up. He says, "You want to try your luck tonight?" You almost laugh. You just had your card declined for soup about an hour ago. You say no. You smile. You walk home. The next morning you drive past the same store on your way to work. The lottery man is outside arranging a display board. The jackpot number is on the sign. $650,000. You drive past. You go to work. You sit through a morning meeting about dispatch efficiency. You eat your packed lunch. You drive home. And somewhere between the car park and your front door you make a decision you cannot fully explain. You turn around. You get back in the Civic. You drive to the store. The lottery man is still there. You walk up to the counter. You say, "Give me one." He slides a scratch card across. You pay $2. You put the card in your jacket pocket without looking at it. You drive home. You hang your jacket on the hook by the door. You make dinner. You go to bed. The scratch card sits in your jacket pocket for 7 days. You forget about it completely by Thursday. On the following Tuesday you are looking for your earphones in the jacket, and your hand finds it instead. A small rectangle of card with a silver surface that has never been touched. You almost put it back. Instead, you take it to the kitchen counter. You find a coin. You scratch slowly. First panel. $650 million. You laugh a little. They always put the big number there. Second panel. You scratch. $650 million. You stop laughing. Third panel. Your hand is not quite steady. $650 million. You put the coin down. You read the instructions on the back. 3 matching amounts wins the top prize. You read it twice. You stand in your kitchen at 10:23 on a Tuesday night. Jacket on the hook by the door, and a scratch card in your hand worth $650 million. Nobody in the world knows this yet. Not your mother. Not your closest friend. Not the cashier who watched you put the soup back 8 days ago. Nobody. You stand there for a long time, Then you take a photograph of the card on your phone. You put it inside a book on the shelf. You sit at the kitchen table, and you do not move until 3 in the morning. You pick up your phone 3 times sitting at that kitchen table. Your mother, your closest friend, anyone. You pick up your phone 3 times that night. 3 times you put it back down. Not because you plan to stay silent, because somewhere between the kitchen counter and the couch, you understood something, without being able to name it yet. The moment you say it out loud, it becomes real for someone else. And the moment it becomes real for someone else, you lose the only thing the money cannot buy back: control over who knows. You think about your mother. You think about what that phone call looks like. And then you think about what every phone call after that one looks like. You spend the next 5 days reading everything you can find. Lottery anonymity laws by state. How to claim through a trust. Blind trust versus revocable trust. What happens when lottery winners go public? Stories of people who won and lost everything within 5 years. 70% of lottery winners are broke within 7 years, not because they are reckless, because the money arrives before the structure does. The funds come first, the architecture comes later, and later is too late. Without the structure, money of this size does not build a life. It dismantles one. By the end of the 5th day, you know exactly what you are going to do. Form a trust before you claim anything. Find an attorney with no connection to your existing life. Take the lump sum. Tell nobody. 10 days after the scratch card, you make a phone call. Not to family. Not to a friend. To a lawyer in a city 2 hours away, whose name you found through a legal referral forum at 2 in the morning. You did not use your real name in the first message. You said you had a sensitive financial matter and needed to discuss anonymous asset protection. He said, "Come in Thursday." You drive 2 hours on a Thursday morning and sit across a desk from a man named David, who has been doing this for 22 years. You tell him the situation. He does not react the way you expect. He just nods. He has had this conversation before. He explains the trust, a separate legal entity that claims the prize on your behalf, your name on nothing public, your face connected to nothing filed. He draws a simple diagram on a notepad. You at the top, the trust in the middle, the lottery claim at the bottom. You are the shadow behind the structure. You ask how long it takes to set up. He says, "Come back Monday." You drive home. On Monday, you sit in the same chair across the same desk. He slides the Harlow Asset Group LLC filing across to you. You read every page. You sign where he tells you to sign. You drive home. 3 days later, you drive to a different state to claim the prize. The lottery office is smaller than you expected. 1 counter. Fluorescent lighting. The specific quiet of a room where large things happen without ceremony. A man verifies the scratch card. He does it twice. The second time he looks at you with an expression you will think about for weeks. Not surprise exactly. More like recognition of a different category of existence. One you have just entered. Lump sum or annuity? Lump sum. Trust documentation. You slide the Harlow filing across the counter. You sign 4 documents. You walk out into a gray morning. You get into the 2013 Civic. The check engine light comes on the moment you start the engine. You drive home. You go back to work on Monday. You sit at the same desk. You open the same spreadsheets. You eat the same packed lunch. You listen to your colleague describe a problem with the new inventory system that you have heard him describe 3 times before. You nod in the right places. Nobody knows. Nobody looks at you differently. Nobody senses anything, because you have not changed anything. You know what the alternative looks like. Quitting the job too soon. Buying something slightly too expensive too early. Carrying yourself differently in a way you cannot explain and cannot stop. The people around you feel the shift before they can name it. And once people feel a shift, they start asking questions. Questions are threads. Threads unravel. So you change nothing visible. Underneath the surface of your unchanged life, the structure starts running. Your attorney connects you to a wealth manager who has handled 2 previous anonymous claims. He does not know your name for the first meeting. He knows the trust. He knows the goals. He knows the numbers. $318 million begins moving into index funds, municipal bonds, and a property portfolio across 4 states. The money generates $36,000 a day in passive returns. You find this out on a Thursday afternoon. You are sitting in a meeting about quarterly dispatch targets. Someone is drawing a bar chart on the whiteboard. Your phone is face down on the table. You flip it over under the desk and open the trust dashboard. $36,000. Generated today. While someone stands at a whiteboard drawing a bar chart about dispatch targets that have nothing to do with your life anymore. You put your phone face down again. You look at the whiteboard. You nod when everyone else nods. You say nothing. 3 months in, you are on the phone with your mother on a Sunday evening. The way you always are. She mentions the boiler. It has been struggling since November. The repair quote is $900. She is going to wait until after the new year. You listen. You say the right things. You hang up. Then you open your laptop. Your attorney set up a housing assistance structure 4 weeks ago. A legitimate fund. A real mechanism. You make 1 call. 8 weeks later, your mother rings you on a Tuesday afternoon. She is crying. Her boiler has been replaced. Full cost covered by an anonymous regional assistance grant. She has called the council 3 times to verify it. She cannot understand it. You tell her some people are quietly generous. You tell her she deserves it. You hang up the phone. You sit in your kitchen for a long time. The cost is not the money. The cost is the distance. The gap between what you did and what you are allowed to say you did. Between who you are and who the people you love believe they are talking to. You did not expect it to feel like this. 5 months in. You are at dinner with people from your new neighborhood. The conversation turns to money. Someone asks what everyone would do with a lottery win. Pay off debt, buy a house, travel, quit the job. Someone turns to you. You pause 1 second too long. Then you say, I would not change a single visible thing for at least 2 years. You say it quietly, almost to yourself. But the woman 2 seats to your left, quiet all evening in the way of someone absorbing more than they are saying, looks at you. Half a second. You feel it before you see it. You change the subject. You go home and replay that sentence until 2 in the morning. The words were fine. It was the way you said them, not as a fantasy, as a conclusion you had already reached. The truth does not need to be spoken to become visible. It lives in the precision of your answers, in the certainty of your voice when everyone else is still imagining. After that night, you become more deliberate. You build a version of yourself slightly too ordinary to be memorable. It takes practice. It works. 14 months in, you get the Civic serviced. New brake pads, rear shock absorber, oil change. Driving home, you think about what the car actually is now. When you bought it, it was the car you could afford. Now it is a choice. A deliberate decision made every morning. The neighbor who notices a new car. The colleague who mentions it. The cousin who calculates. The Civic draws none of that. It starts. It drives. It parks. Nobody looks at it twice. 16 months in, you meet someone. Her name is Nadia. She works in urban planning. She has student debt and strong opinions, and a laugh that arrives before you expect it. You meet at a coffee shop on a Saturday when she sits at the only empty table, which happens to be yours. 40 minutes later, you are still talking. By the end of the first month, you know this is not ordinary. By the end of the 3rd month, you know the question is coming. Not from her. From you. Every night before you sleep, you run the calculation. If you tell her, you give her a weight she never asked for. You make her an actor in a performance she never auditioned for. You change what she sees when she looks at you. If you do not, Every conversation, every morning she thinks she knows you, is built on the foundation of the most significant thing about your life that she has no idea about. There is no clean option. You have been looking for one for 3 months. It is not there. It is 10:23 on a Tuesday night. Same time, same nothing special night as the one where you walked to the store out of boredom 19 months ago. Nadia is sitting across from you. She is talking about a project she has been working on for 3 weeks. She does the thing she does when she is fully in something, hands moving, whole face involved, every thought arriving a moment before the words. She has no idea that the person sitting across from her has not fully slept in 19 months. No idea that the ordinary apartment and the old car and the modest consulting job are a performance so complete that some mornings you forget which version of yourself is the real one. No idea that the man she is falling for is the shadow behind a structure worth $650 million that no public record in the world connects back to his name. No idea that it started on a Tuesday night exactly like this one, with a bored walk to a store around the corner, and a lottery man in a gray jacket, and a scratch card that sat in a jacket pocket for 7 days. You watch her talk, and the question settles behind your ribs. The way it always does now, like a second heartbeat. You have $650 million. The person sitting across from you has no idea. Would you tell her tonight? Or would you let the silence protect you for 1 more year? If this changed how you think about money and what it really costs, subscribe to Marcus Finance now and turn on your notification bell because you might not find this channel again. You do not want to miss the next video.